Well, hello there, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today. I feel like there's never enough time to talk about two of my favorite subjects, one being early childhood education and the other being leadership. So today I'm going to try and give you a lot of information and what I call a little bit of space. Feel free to, at the end, to ask me questions, to let me know if there's anything I can help you with, because I want you to not just listen to my webinar, but take away useful information that you can apply today in your businesses. So without further ado, I want to talk about 5 ways to strengthen your leadership principles. Everyone on this on this webinar today knows that there is not ever going to be a perfect day. You can have good days, but no perfect days. And so I want to train you today how to run your companies in a fashion that will allow you to have joy every day. And I did another presentation with NCCA regarding joy, filling your joy bucket. So you might want to go back and reference that one. So to strengthen your leadership principles, I want you to take away a couple of these good notes from me. First of all, practice active listening. The reason for active listening is that a lot of times people are listening to respond. And so your staff knows that. They know that when you ask, how can I help you? But then you already started talking about 10 other things. You really aren't giving them a space and a time to address the things that are bothering them. So active listening starts in a way that says, I'm here to listen to what is bothering you. And together, remember that word, together we're going to find a solution. Whenever someone trusts you, remember this, when someone trusts you with their issue, that's a real moment of vulnerability. I'm saying, I don't know this to my director, so help me with this. And the one or two things can happen in that moment. The leader can use that opportunity to grow and become a strong, more cohesive team, or the leader can push that employee away. And most of the time, the push away happens because the leader has in their mindset, it's my way or the highway. I've learned so much in my 47-year career from teachers and the bus driver and the cook and everybody having an input on our team. It's not always the way I want it to be. It could be the way that what works best for our team. One of the things I want to implore everybody on this webinar to do today is know and have a mission statement. If your school does not have a mission statement, you're going to get off my webinar and say, Miss Regina Miller, a consultant, said our school, in order to thrive, needs a mission statement. You cannot operate without one. The mission statement is sort of kind of like your vision. It says to your team, I am investing in my company. I have a goal, and I want you to come alongside me and help me deliver this goal. If there's no mission statement or vision statement, then you're lost. You're just kind of going by the seat of your pants. And you've seen those kind of places where you walk in and a new employee is kind of put on board and thrown into a classroom and they don't know why they're there. What's the purpose of the school? Where does the school fit in the community? Remember, community is big. This is how we get our government officials to support us, is by going into the community and saying, hey, I am here and I'm doing this service to families in the city of Wichita, and I need your help to continue to do that. Recently, my management team and I traveled to Topeka, Kansas for Early Childhood Advocacy Day. It was so enlightening to meet our senator and have her just take pictures with us and sit down with us. She cared about us. She sent us personal emails after and asked, how you doing? Can I bring friends into Trailblazers? And having that open door policy of nothing to hide and having both a clean and safe and educational place that she could come visit. I said, you do not need to make an appointment. Stop by anytime and bring other senators to see our school so that you can see where your dollars are being used at. That's what advocacy does. So I'm kind of going off tangent here with this leadership into advocacy because I'm huge on advocacy. I hear people say all the time, there's not enough money, or who's going to do that, or who's going to pay for that. There are dollars there. There are people there that's willing to help you. Sorry, we were just getting rid of my granddaughter there. She was gonna watch Gigi, but she started calling my name, and I apologize. You have to know that that starts with our community. So I got off on listening to your staff and then being active in your community. You have to continue to learn. When I talk about continuing to learn, I just don't just mean the 1 or 2 hour training that you do with your team. It is hands-on teachable moments. And I had one of the best teachable moments supervisor, and you just met her, Cindy Linhoff. She would come in and say, this is a teachable moment. It didn't mean I was in trouble. It meant this is a moment I'm going to teach you something new. So you have to be willing to be coachable. A lot of times leaders get a title and they forget that they're still learning. And I'm here to say lifelong learning works. You can always learn something new. I love watching new and energetic directors that are way, younger than any of my birth children. And you watch them and they're so excited about the field and what to bring to it. And then you learn something innovative from them. So never be afraid to ask your millennials, your Gen X's, what can we do different? When you're depending on others, you have to have a system of collaboration. So you have to know that I'm going to ask you, what is your opinion? And validate that opinion. That opinion may not mirror mine's, and it may not even be something that's in the budget, but I'm going to acknowledge that you gave me that idea. Another thing I want to implore every leader on this webinar to do today is give credit where credit is due. Make sure that when you say to a person, I like that playground idea. When you start to embark upon it, make sure you say, this idea came from our Miss Sandy in the infant room. She thought we could use more sandboxes and more outdoor digging play space. You have to give credit where credit is due. If it's always looking like only the managers get credit, your people will soon get disillusioned and be not so happy with your team. I love the quote, make today count. And the reason I use that quote is because I always told myself that if I could go back in time, which we know we can't, I would have not stressed over so many tomorrows. I would have stayed present in that day. So I'm going to ask you to stay present in your today. When you're thinking about, oh man, here comes Easter in the next month, and what are we gonna do? And we gotta get ready, and we gotta prep. I'm big on prepping, I'm big on planning, I'm big on organization. However, let's make today count, because you never know what today is doing for a child in your center. It could be their last day with you. They could be moving away. They could be just joining you. So it's important to focus on what you have now. And also with your staff, when I use the word make today count, I am talking about the teacher that walks up to you, and we've all been here, and the teacher says to you, I just want to let you know I'm going back to school. I'm going to start taking nursing. And I have a lot of people ask me, Coach, that just boils my blood. I tell them, well, are you quitting? And I say, well, why would you ask that? And they say, because she can't work for me and go to nursing school. She sure can. You need to find a way, because we are here for safety and sanitary measures as well. So your nursing student would be a plus to add to your enrollment packet. We have nurses on staff. She may want to stay with you until she finds a nursing job. There's no guarantee that once she finishes school, it takes a couple of years, that she can't give you the best while she's there. Don't be so quick to cut off your right hand and say, well, they said they're going to go into elementary ed, and this is early childhood, so they have to go. We are partners. We mirror each other. So make today count. Mariah, I'm ready for my next slide, honey. So when you're talking, when you're talking about making today count, you are letting everybody on your team know you are a valuable member here in our team. And so we want to hear from you. A lot of times the best ideas are hidden under your shy person, the person that says, I don't want to speak up in a staff meeting. So you have to create a space and a place where that person can write you a list or come by your office and say to you, I had this idea, I was just afraid to present it in front of my team. There's so many of us, I've only been here 3 months. And I know Miss Susie, she's been here 10 years and she was taking the floor and I didn't want to get my feelings hurt. Be ready to listen. New and innovative ideas are often hidden in your kitchen, in your maintenance staff. Everybody plays a huge role on your team. I always say that I am not the boss. I am a co-part. I am here to shoulder you. And here's the thing that I want everybody to remember today. Never ever ask of anyone on your team to do anything that you're not willing to mirror. You have to be willing to show your team, I will put my hand in the toilet and I will get out with a glove, of course, the toilet paper that's jamming our toilet. I see a spill on the floor and you look extremely busy with your pre-K, so I'll go get the mop and get that up. You guys brought in a bunch of mud from the playground that's messing up the lobby. I'll go mop the lobby. You have to be willing to be a team player. That's what good leadership looks like. I know oftentimes people will say to me, Coach, can you just give me in a nutshell what good leadership looks like? Good leadership is not always that title, that nicely dressed person that walks in the morning with their Starbucks, speaking of Starbucks, and they run to their office and shut the door. That's not a good leader. That leader is out there in the trenches with you. That leader is saying to you, how are you doing this morning? And that leader is taking into account that you might say, didn't sleep well last night. I was just wondering if I could get an extra 30 minutes on my break today. And then that leader says to you, you know what, I'll step in for that extra 30 minutes and let you get a nap in your car. Because I don't know about you, but in my 47 years as a leader, I've taken a nap in my car instead of a lunch break. Just sometimes it's good to go away and get a moment of silence. Let's talk about that moment of silence and what that looks like. And I hear people say, are you kidding me? In a childcare center? Yes. It's crucial that you learn how to stop, pause. I call it pause, pray, and praise. Pause, pray, and praise. I pause for a minute and I look at what's going on in the school. I pray and ask for guidance to continue to be a good leader. And then my third one is I go back in and praise the people that are helping me do that. Because not one of us on this call today does any leadership by ourselves. Remember when you hear people say, I'm the CEO, they're saying, look at me, I'm the person that's mirroring what I want done at this company. And if you don't see that, it's just a title. Oftentimes people get stuck in a title and they want to be known as the CEO or the president or the supervisor. In fact, on one of my IRS papers, they put that I was president of my companies. And I said, I don't know that I like that word. And they said, well, we have to use that for IRS purposes. However, I don't want to just be president. I like owner. I like shareholder. I don't want to be that person of a statue where someone will think, oh, Miss Regina owns it all, because I don't. They're wonderful, wonderful individuals that show up every day in both my companies and do the work with me, and they need to be recognized. So when you're talking about listening, I want you to stop. It doesn't mean that you take, I've heard people ask me, well, Coach, how come it should take, I'll tell a teacher I'll meet with her and it ends up being an hour and a half. Guess who controls the time factor? You do. So you walk in and you let that person start talking. A lot of times we want to talk for them and we want to answer for them. I know I've been the victim of, so I noticed you were upset. Are you upset about? And I give them the reason why they're upset. Stop. Don't give the reason why the person is upset. Your time, and it's going to be an awkward moment of silence, but that awkward moments of silence is letting that person know, I'm here to listen to you. And oftentimes we get uncomfortable with that silence. And so we'll say, well, Mary, what seems to be the problem? And then before Mary can speak, we say, well, I know you're upset about yesterday. That may not even be what Mary wanted to talk about. Mary might wanted to tell you that she got a bad diagnosis at the doctor the other day, and she came back to work and she just got emotional because she may have to cut her shift down to part-time, and she's worried that you won't do that. So listen, remember that. I want to teach you this morning or afternoon on your times how to step into your team's shoe. A lot of people say, how do you do that? Stepping into the team shoe means that you're not just going to take an observation look. The observation look is easy to do. And I tell a lot of leaders that not just in childcare, I coach a lot of different companies. And oftentimes, the guys in particular will ask me, well, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at just going around and shop talking. You don't have to shop talk, but you have to, what I'm going to use this word, and I hope you remember it, you have to do meaningful talk. Meaningful talk is just a good morning, Mary. How are you today? I care if Mary answers me and says, sleepy and needs some coffee, or, oh my goodness, my migraine is bothering me. I want to know that, but I don't have to stay there and listen to this carefully. I don't have to fix that. I have to let Mary know I heard her. You said you don't feel well today. My next question would be, are you able to take care of the children today, or is your migraine infringing upon your job duties? If she says, oh, I can't even stand the light in this room today, I can't be here, then I'm going to go and relieve her of her duties. That's meaningful listening. Meaningful listening is not going in and going, what do you think about the new girl that we just hired in Tyler's? And how do you think she looked? And why? That's not meaningful talk for your team. And a lot of times people get engulfed into talk that's meaningless. And then that creates your team of disarray. When you are also stepping into your team's shoes, one of the things that you need to do more than once a year is go spend some time in that person's class. If they're your office manager, say to them, today I'm coming out the back office and I'm taking the front and I'm answering the phones and I'm going to see what kind of enrollment calls we're getting. You complain that the phones never stop ringing. I want to see what we're getting, what the traction is coming from. I may need to change my marketing strategy and how I advertise our school. Sometimes it's just giving a person a break to say, I see you, I see the meaningful work you're doing, and I want you to know that you have someone backing you. So that listening, again, does not need to be 2-3 hours in a room. And it's real easy to get caught up in the staff person that's lighthearted and friendly. I've been a victim of that myself, of having a teacher that every time your door is open, she stops there and she wants to tell you about her kids and what they did last night and what she cooked. And then your other team is working hard and thinking, when's she gonna go back to her room and get those kids out the hallway from talking to the director? And you gotta be mindful of all these things that are occurring in your school. Also, let's talk about how to depend on other people in your team. A lot of times we give the hardest jobs to the most worthiest person because we think she's capable and she can handle it. And I want to ask you this afternoon to look around and find talent in every person on your team. It's there. And if you don't believe me, I want you to go back to your office, grab their personnel file, and ask yourself this one question. Why did I hire this person? You saw something in your interview that said, oh my goodness, she'd be great with the babies. Oh my goodness, she'd be great with cleanliness. Oh my goodness, she seems to be OCD'd and she keeps telling me how organized she is. She can help me with organization. You have, everybody on your team has a role. And so often than not, we forget those people's roles. We put them in a place and we put them in a box. And we say, she's my lead teacher, Tyler's, and she's never going in the other room. I used to do, and now that I have a director, Miss Jasmine is now doing it, what we call a shakeup. And my daughter Helen started it in our school, where every summer we let the summer go through and then we say, hey, how are you feeling about fall? Do you want to stay in pre-K or are you willing to make a change? And sometimes those people get a little burned out teaching pre-K for 5 years, but they don't want to quit on you, but they would love to go to toddlers and play with some little ones. You have to be willing to ask tough questions. And I know I'm gearing this a lot to teachers and classrooms, but you have to remember this, that opportunity is so fluent in other companies, and that's why our people will leave us, because they don't want to be your pre-K teacher anymore. They want to be with infants. They're getting a little up in age and They don't want to do the lesson planning. And so they want to play with a baby, and you won't give them that opportunity. So you lose that tenured teacher. Never ever be afraid of what I call a change. And then you'll get some who say, well, I can't change these people because the state requires that they have a bachelor's degree to teach my pre-K program or my kindergarten program. Well, guess what? You will be surprised that the young lady down the hall has been dying to go to college. If you'll help her pay for it, she wants to finish her degree. Now she can move around room to room for you. Be willing to enhance and invest in the team that you have. Remember that. Be willing to invest and enhance. And never be afraid of change. You hear people say, well, if I move her, she'll quit. Oh, it's one of my pet peeves, guys. You never ever say, I can't move her, she'll quit on me. If I move her out of that class, she's quitting. That's not a team player. That's not conducive for your company. And it sure isn't doing anybody any good if you leave a person in one stagnant place until they start to just become a habit. You ever seen someone that they walk in and they just do the same thing like a robot every day? And you say to yourself, I've been watching this class for 2 days and they do the same thing. It's good to have routine. It's not good to not have a little bit of variety. So I want to talk about that confidence. You will gain more confidence as a leader when you're not afraid to say to your team, this year I'm going to take the toddler team and I'm going to make them the infant team. And the infant team, you're going over to the toddlers. On my back, I can't lift those toddlers. They're too heavy. I'm going to have to think about something else. Remember that a lot of times when people are explaining what they won't do, they are oftentimes saying to you, as the leader, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle my mischief? How are you going to tell me that I have to do this in order for our team to grow? And never be afraid to share. Again, there's that vision and your mission statement with your team. Every member of your team, mine is posted in the hallway in our lobby for not just staff to see, but for parents to see. We have a mission. And here's our mission. And here's what we promise to do every day with your little one. When parents realize that you know what you're doing and that you care about what you're doing, they'll follow you. And so will your team. Great leaders have to learn to adapt to a team and change it with the times. Sometimes you hear people say, well, we're going to have a real busy summer, but a low fall. And so I'm scared to tell my teacher I can't give her as many hours this year. Those conversations, first of all, let me make sure I make this extremely clear. Anytime you're talking about someone's salary, their time, their education, those should be personal one-on-one talks. I'm going to say that again. They should be personal and one-on-one and extremely confidential, because you want that person to feel valued, but you also don't want to shake up your team into the place of we're giving out raises or we're buying people to stay with us. That's not what we're doing. We are enhancing our team and making us a better place for the community. And here's how you can add value to this place. Put that in your interview question. Remember that. It's a tough question, but it really isn't. Not to the person who's motivated and has passion for our field. If you say, what would you bring to this team? That is an open-ended question that allows that person to tell you, well, I'm a little silly. I love animation. I'm a great artist. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, there's my bulletin boards. You know, you have to ask people, what will they bring? It's not so much what this school is going to do for you. The question is, I sound like the president, what will you do for your school? Renewed motivation happens. I'm going to say this more than once this afternoon. Renewed motivation happens daily. Now, you might ask, how do you renew someone's motivation daily? It starts with just we're glad you're here. You know, I'm grabbing coffee for everybody. Sometimes I'm not even in the school and I'll send a note, say, tell everyone I'm buying lunch today. It's just a little bit of thank you. Thank you goes so far. And that's renewed motivation. I have to share a story. I didn't ask permission to share Miss Brittany's story, but I'm going to. She is a new person that works at Trailblazers Academy. She was sent to Jasmine through a friend who knew Miss Regina, and Jasmine's the director, so of course she did the hiring. And this young lady, after 2 weeks with Jasmine, came in and pretty much knocked. It's not easy to do. She knocked my socks off. She came in and she bought little bags of Bath and Body lotions and stuff, and she said, "I just want to tell you, I've been in childcare for, I believe she said 5 or 6 years, and I've never worked at a place where I felt valued." Remember that word, guys. I feel value here at Trailblazers. I feel like this is the place I was meant to grow. And I'm excited about how I'm treated and how I'm known and the investment in my orientation. And I didn't just get thrown in. And it was just enlightening to hear that onboarding helps when you take your time and let people know you're a valuable part of our team. So when you talk about creativity in your workplace, remember to also allow people to say, I'm not good at that. A lot of times we focus on people's strength and not their weaknesses. I like to, as a leader, focus on what someone's not good at. And you might ask me, why do I do that? I do that so for two reasons. I never want to embarrass someone. If someone says to me, um, if you if you call on me to read out loud at a staff meeting, I'm not a very good out loud reader. I'm not going to do that to that person. I want to be certain that people feel comfortable, that people know their strengths, and I know their strengths and I know their weaknesses. I also like for people to be able to shine. And so if I know a person absolutely loves to talk, and my daughter used to say, "Mom, no one talks as much as you." But if I know that I have a person on staff that is interested in training or like it, I like to go behind and motivate that person. And being doing so, I've churned out quite a few leaders, and I'm proud of that. Also, be careful with your time management. Know that that's just not a fancy word in a book. It is actually the gospel. If you're not careful with your time, I hear people say there's not enough time in the day. I want to remind you that you control your time. So if you're getting up 20 minutes before it's time for you to be out the door, that's not good time management. If you're leaving your hardest test or your deadlines to the last hour, or some of us, I'm one of those, work really well with a time crunch. I love a time crunch. I like knowing that by 5 o'clock, I have to have this done. It motivates me. It brings out the very best in Regina Miller. Not everyone's that way, and I need to remember that. So I can't give that piece that's needed by somebody else to them at 4 o'clock and say, we have to have this done by 5. That's going to stress them. So remember that about time. Also, in your time management, please promise me that you will use some of that for what I call self-care. Without self-care, you're not going to last. And self-care doesn't mean that you need to jump in on an airplane and go to a foreign country. It just means that I'm going to drink my coffee slowly. I'm going to listen to the birds chirp. I'm going to let the wind blow my hair away in Kansas. And I'm going to feel good about going to work. That's time management. A lot of times people say to me, I don't have money or time for time management, coach. Yes, you do. Actually, you can't afford not to take care of yourself, because without you, nothing else works. You can't, if you're the owner or the leader and you're not feeling your best, it shows in everything you do in your team. And your team, believe it or not, they're stressed because you're stressed. So remind yourself that time management really does matter. And I also want you to promise me one more thing, because I know we're guilty of this as directors. You need to take your lunch break away from your desk. Your lunch break shouldn't be putting the lunch food from the cafeteria on a tray or a plate and bringing it to your office, and that's what you're eating today. It means that you take 5 minutes and get in your car, or longer than 5 minutes, and you go down the road and you order a salad or a sandwich and you sit and you eat it. Nothing's going to happen that's going to make a huge difference in that moment that you take care of yourself. Self-care matters. Mariah, I wanted to leave some time for question and answer, so I'm gonna go quickly through my depend on others and collaborate. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, I can definitely give you a little extra time too. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So when you depend on others, I want you to remember something. You're saying you can trust me. Integrity is so loosely used in our society, and the word ethics. And a lot of times I cringe when people say, I want to work there, but some of the things they do make me question the integrity. That's not good. Remember that when you are a leader, even the slightest, oh, I'm so sick of this, sends the message that you're in trouble as an employee because I'm sick of it. We have to be mindful of our words. Words carry a lot of power, and I implore you to just maybe just journal. I'm big on journals as a coach. Everybody who's my client will tell you, Miss Regina will ask you, where's that journal? And I've had big, tough men tell me, I'm not writing in a journal how I feel. And then once they do it for me, they say, oh my God, I've increased my productivity. We're making money. I'm not as stressed, because you have to know that words have power. And so if I'm putting down in that journal today, I am stressed about an upcoming deadline, some paperwork I need to get done. I'm going to go back to that in a couple of days. I'm writing it again. I'm stressed about this paperwork. I need to see what's in the middle of that where I stop journaling, because a lot of times it will tell me a story, and I'm big on storytellers telling. So you need to understand that your journal will tell you a story. It will tell you where you are, where you need to go, and how to get there. And a lot of times you can circle it and go, oh my goodness, for the last 3 days, I've written down the word Susan. Susan is either the problem or I am, and I need to figure that out. And then you start writing down things that you're interacting with Susan, and you both may just be miscommunicating. It's not always a hatch. Sometimes it's, I misunderstood you and I want to start over again. When your team knows and likes and trusts you, they'll run through a brick wall for you. I really want you to know that that's true. It's true in any company. When people give you their best work, they're saying, I feel valued here and you can have my best work. I want you to also be mindful of when someone is different from you. I had to learn this early on as a manager in my young 30s. Many years ago, I wanted everybody to work as hard as me. And in my leadership book, I talk about that in a chapter where I had that realization one day that I have to stop saying, I'm going to hire everybody like me, because we are going to kill each other. If we're all running around and working really, really hard and nobody's making anybody stop and take a lunch break outside of that desk, we're going to all be ending up with heart problems. So it's good to hire diverse people. It's also good to have people that don't act like you. They may not even look like you, but you have to be able to understand that that person has value. And once I started listening to at one point, my daughter Helen and I had seven countries represented in a staff of 35 people. And out of those 7 countries, my daughter would say, listen to her. That's the way they do it in her country. Maybe we could learn something from her. And once I started doing that, I miss you, Helen. That's my daughter. It was enlightening to learn that I don't always have to have the answer. It's okay for me to go out on that floor and find out who does have the answer. And how would Miss Susan do it? And if I gave Miss Susan the financial backing to do it, what would it look like? And I learned quickly on that there's a lot of talent in our field. I also want to dispel the notion, I keep hearing it's all across our country. When I speak nationally, one of the questions I get asked after most of my keynote speeches is, where did you find your team? And how, if there's nobody to hire and people don't want to work. Everyone listening on this call today, I want you to make a promise as a ECE community. Let's stop saying there's no one that wants to work in our field. Let's start elevating our field like the nursing field and any other field, the attorney's field, the accountant's field. They all don't say there's nobody that wants to be an accountant. I want us to change the narrative starting today. Use my name if you have to. Regina Miller said, we have not because we ask not. We got to stop saying nobody wants to work. We got to start making it inviting for them to come work with us. If I'm on my Facebook and I'm explaining that I own a childcare center and I'm so burned out and I'm so tired and there's nobody and people don't want to work and all COVID made everybody lazy, why would the person who's going to make a decision about where they're going their first year of college want to go in early childhood education? They're not. When I speak to high school students, they all go, oh my goodness, you look happy. And I love kids. And is there money there? And, I'm tired of that excuse too, that there's no money in childcare. You have to live within your means. And you get out of any job what you put in it. And so we have to change that narrative as leaders and stop saying, these people don't want to work. How about we ask, where would you like to add value to my school? Where do you think you'd fit in here? I guarantee you when I say to people, well, you have to call Miss Jasmine. I'm sure she might have a part-time position. That person's going to make that call, as opposed to, we don't hire part-time people. We don't have any of that. We might need 2 part-time people so that those 2 people can still go on with their lives. Remember this about people who don't own companies. They do have a life. And their goals are not going to look like the person that's responsible for the backing of that company. And you have to remember that. Leaders, when you change your narrative and you smile when you're in the grocery store, I get people running behind me when I'm out in public. Hey, Miss Regina, is your consulting company hiring? No, not at this time. Well, if you ever need anybody, here's my card. Please call me because I want to do things with you. I see you doing this, and this. It's all about, I'm happy. And that's what we need in our childcare centers. When people say, I keep calling your director and she says she doesn't have a position right now, but I can come fill out an application. My next question becomes, have you filled out the application so that Jasmine can call you if she gets some? I'm doing it today, Miss Regina. Because people want to be where happy people are. Pharrell said it the best, because I'm happy, I'm happy. And I want our leaders to be happy. I want to go start speaking to each other. How are you? Let's stop the narrative of this is my school and I can't share with you and I can't tell you how I'm successful and I can't show you my school because yours is bigger than mine and mine is, I can't. You got to stop that. It's a beautiful, beautiful field with a lot of beautiful, beautiful people in it. And I see it when I travel. And I want to just take a big rope and put it around everybody and just give them one big hug, because we are the difference makers. And those kids that come back to me as adults and say, you changed my life. I remember when I was only 5 and you told me I could be a doctor, and there really is a little boy who's a doctor. And he says, Miss Regina, if you ever need anything, you call me. That's the narrative. And that's the team. Our team did that. Not me, the team. And so you can't do it alone. You need a team, but you also need to remember the team is watching you. So I penned in a lot of leadership lessons because I didn't want to take them to the grave with me. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you. I'm open for, I do want to talk about that accountability real quick. You can leave up make today count because it's certain, it's true. But that accountability, I want you to feel comfortable telling your team when you've messed up. I want you to feel comfortable telling your team how, I call it the state of the school. I like that word. I don't know if you can, you're welcome to use it. The state of, you know how the president does the State of the Union? Well, Miss Regina does the state of the school. And I tell them where we are in enrollment, how we're doing, what we're doing for our customers, how important our customers are to us. And then I tell them how important they are, because without them, I don't have a customer. Remember that. Without your team, you don't have a business. And I hear people sometimes say, it's my company, it's my way, or the highway. Well, you're going to be on the highway all by yourself real soon. Because after a while, people will discover that there's no room there for any kind of diversity. There's no room there to grow. There's no room there for creativity. And that's pretty sad. But I'm hopeful that we're not done with ECE. I know there's a lot of changes coming down the pipe, and it's up to all of us leaders to keep the momentum in early childhood. It's up to all of us leaders to show people why. Tell your stories. I've been in childcare 47 years, and I love when people get wide-eyed and go, really? Have you ever felt burnout? I'd be lying if I ever told you I'd never felt the burnout. I felt it, but I kicked it in the butt. That's what I did to burnout. I said, get out of here. I'm not done. And that's what I want from you guys. It's just to remember that every day we make a big difference in the lives of the biggest people in the world, the little people. And we can't do that by ourselves. And as leaders, we are the forefront. We're that make or break. Do I want to work here? Is it worth it? Will I be seen? Does she care? Does he care? You have to be a good leader. I'm ready for questions.
If anyone has any questions or comments that they'd like to add to the chat, please do that. If it's something that's a little bit longer and you'd like to speak, please put that in the chat as well.
Don't be shy. It's your chance to get a coaching question asked and answered.
We love questions. Well, Miss Regina,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't thank you enough. This is Miss Cindy for
Oh, yes.
reminding me of some of the things that we learned together.
Yep.
And it made me smile because, again, surviving and thriving in this business is never easy. But if you develop mentors and friends that do it too, it really can help sustain you. And I want to thank you for always reigniting that motivation in me to continue my work as an advocate and a resource for early childhood. I'm really excited that you're going to join us as an advocate at the Child Care Aware Conference in May. And you're going to just spread more of that joy as you network and interact and meet your federal legislators. So, and if anybody on this call would like information about how to join us at the national conference, the Child Care Aware Symposium in Washington, D.C., May 4th through 7th, we did secure a discount, and it is definitely a conference worth attending. And I am overjoyed that I was selected this year for the first time to be a speaker.
Yes. Good job, Cindy. Good job.
Well, it's certainly been a while since I've spoke at the national level, but since I watched you do it last year, I knew I could do it too. So thank you for motivating me to apply. You
got this. You can do this.
Absolutely. Oh,
well, everyone take care and take a lunch break today.
I think we have a question. We have a question, Mariah?
Yeah, we have a question in the chat from Barbara. She says, what do you think are the most important qualities for a leader? outside of, I think, what we discussed today.
Passion.
For the passion. Okay.
That I think that leader has to have a passion for what they're doing, because it's hard to lead and stay motivated, as Cindy and I were just talking about it, if you're not passionate about your field. So passion is that answer. That would be the biggest. And a lot of people ask, what is that passion? And that passion comes from within you. It's something you embark on, and you say, I knew at the age of 14 I wanted to own a child care center, and I did everything humanly possible to get there. So yes, I think any leader needs that passion, because if you ever seen a leader that's not happy, but they need that fun, it doesn't look good.
Thank you so
We need to
much.
talk about
If
my
you
book.
don't mind,
We didn't
I
give
would
away
like
my
to
book.
add one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that, Cindy?
I was going to add one thing about passion. Now, first of all, I totally 150% agree that passion, is number one. And what I would like to say too is that you have to be passionate about being a teacher of teachers as the leader versus a
Yes.
teacher of children. And I'm not saying you can't continue to teach children, but you have to take that passion up a level. So that's all I got to say. And
Thank you.
again, thanks for joining us, and I'll let Mariah
Yes.
take it from here.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Yes, Miss Regina, as you said, let's talk about the book. So for those of you who are here with us today during the live session, we are doing a random drawing for two folks who will receive paperback copies of Miss Regina's book, Leadership Lessons. For those of you who are not chosen, you can feel free to go ahead and scan the code there, and I'll include it in the follow-up email as well to secure your own copy. But Miss Regina, did you want to go and do the random choosing, or want to check out the chat? And
No, I think I'll leave that up to you.
okay. So I am going to go ahead and say Miss Destiny York and Miss Barbara Worsley. If you could just go ahead and
Worsley.
email I'm going to put it in the chat, ncca@necpa.net. If you could just email us your information. Oh, congratulations. Yes, it's going to be a phenomenal book to read. I have not yet read it, but I have a copy that is on the way. So I am very excited to dive into that. But please email your information, Dawn and Destiny, and we'll make sure that we get, Dawn and sorry, Destiny and Barbara.
Barbara.
I'm so sorry, Destiny and Barbara. Please email us so that we can make sure we get all of your mailing information so we can get those book copies over to you.
Yes.
Any additional words on that, Miss Regina?
I just want to say thank you to NCCA for having me again as a guest, and I appreciate everybody for joining. And my information is there. If anybody needs any help on one-on-one coaching or training, I am all available. Have a wonderful day. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Regina. And before we finally close out for real, I just want to go ahead and point out a couple of events that will be NCCA will be at. We'll be at the INAYC conference representing NCCA and NECPA. So if you are in Indiana, we will be there next week. So we look forward to seeing you there. Additionally, Cindy will be speaking in Warwick, Rhode Island in May. I will also be in attendance at the First 5 Years Child Care Means Business event on the April 4th here in DC. And then, as Cindy had mentioned before, if you have not already secured your registration for the Child Care Aware of America Symposium in May, please do so. It's going to be a very advocacy forward event. And so if you are someone who is still trying to get into advocacy, or if you're a seasoned pro, we would love if you can join us there as well. And then Everyone's been talking about this because everyone thought that we were going to have a conference this year,
Yeah.
but we decided to do biannual, at least for right now. So it is official. The NCCA NECBA Leadership Conference will be next year, March 19th through the 21st in Memphis, Tennessee. So if you are in Memphis or if you're not in Memphis, you know you need to go. So we'll be getting those details over to you. But there is a huge draw. The Peabody Hotel in Memphis is known for their ducks. So there will be a lot of duck ceremonies, a lot of really cute little ducklings waddling about with their mama. So if that is, if
Yeah.
networking and education isn't a draw, I hope the ducks get you.